Welcome to the Coffee and Code podcast, where we bridge the gap between technology and people through each informative episode. I'm your host, Ashley Coffee, technologist, two-time TEDx speaker, and CEO of Coffee and Consult. On this show, you'll hear exclusive interviews with experts, innovators, creatives, and business owners in the tech space and beyond. Whether you're a novice or a tech enthusiast, my goal is to excite, inform, and empower you to understand how the rapidly evolving world of technology impacts your daily life. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Code. This is a very special episode today, and I'm so excited to welcome our special guest, Deepak Ashwani, all the way from India. Welcome, Deepak.
Hello, Ashley, and thanks a lot for making the time to record this podcast.
Thank you. It's 10:30 p.m. where you are. It's 12:30 for me. So I deeply appreciate you taking time to come on the show and share your expertise with the world. A little bit about Deepak for our audience. I love this first sentence of Deepak's bio. It says, "I move fast, but never rushed." That's the calm hustler in a sentence. So that's just a really good encapsulation of Deepak. But over the past 15 years, 38 countries, and thousands of conversations, from boardrooms to meditation halls, Deepak keeps seeing the same pattern in high-achieving people, what he calls the Trinity troubles, and we'll get into that. Health that's quietly fraying, wealth that fuels a scarcity loop, and relationships that feel more transactional than transformational. Most blamed on external forces, and the real block was internal and elegantly solvable. So Deepak's breakthrough is self-observation and transformation technology. So think of it as CCTV for your consciousness, moment-by-moment awareness that shows you the exact micro choices keeping you stuck and the tiny pivots that set you free. So Deepak has been going through this work deeply and transformatively. And Deepak and I actually had a chance to meet one another through the Professional Fellows Program, which is a program that's been happening for the past 13 years. It's funded by the U.S. State Department and run by the University of Oklahoma. But Deepak has deep roots here in Oklahoma, even being thousands of miles away in India, that I couldn't be more happy to welcome you onto the show, Deepak. So welcome.
Thanks a lot.
So Deepak, you have so much experience, and I just really want to dive in here. Deepak, tell us a little bit more about you aside from the bio that I shared with the listeners. Who are you at your core, Deepak?
I'm a simple human being and I help people to simplify their life. That's pretty much as simple I can put it.
That's very important. And you do retreats, you really help bridge that gap between, I would say, similar to what I do, technology and people, helping them find that harmony between those two pieces. And some of the work that you've done has been impactful, and I'll be sure to share that in the show notes for our audience. But you developed this system of circles, kind of layers, that help people think inwardly. So Deepak, what drew you to this work originally? Let's dive into there.
Yes, what you are referring to is called invisible U-turn framework. What drove me into that is that I realized that it's too much for people to handle the challenges in their life as well as go deep within and, find peace and beyond their desires, a world beyond their desires. It's too much to handle in today's busy world, everyone is hustling. So there is a way to be a calm hustler, which means that how about we optimize and while we solve your challenges, you get a chance to go deeper within you. That means the turn towards you becomes invisible. So that's why it is called invisible U-turn. And I can give an analogy for you to understand it better.
Yeah.
So for example, you're sitting with your friends on a bonfire and you are with a child, and suddenly the child is constantly staring the bonfire. It's first time that child has seen a fire, such a massive fire. And after a while of staring, the child started moving towards the fire. Now, in this moment, what would you do?
Go get the child. Like, don't go further. Come back. Let's be safe.
Yeah, that's what would be the most common reaction from most of the people. You can definitely do that. But there's a lot to lose in this way. Remember, the child is curious towards the fire, and that's why the child is running towards the fire. And then suddenly you grab the child and you literally kill the curiosity of the child, and they will start shouting. They will start making mess. And it will be difficult for you to sit with your friend, of course, but it will be in general very difficult to deal with the mood of the child at that moment. So, how about this? The moment you saw the child running towards the fire or walking, you started running behind them. And then you looked towards each other. The child looked towards you, and they get a feeling that you are part of the team. You are with me. And then you started moving together towards the fire. And then, as the fire comes closer, you hold the hand of the child and slowly grab the child and then started showing something to burn in the fire, like a stick or a paper or something, that this is the function of the fire. And then the way your body language is that you are also learning with the child. Now you are in the both the team. Now you are in the curious team together. And then you have learned the fire. The child curiosity is over. Whenever there's a repetition, the child curiosity is over, then they need to move on to something next. And then slowly, as you observe the child that, they are done, you turn from the fire and go towards your friend and then indicate another toy or another thing towards the child. So this is the invisible U-turn. So in this case, you are happy, child is happy, fire is happy, no one got burned. And then everyone went back to the work. It's the same way I used to do with the people, where people come to me with either a health problem or a wealth problem or a relationship problem. And if you observe anyone's life, whether it's a CEO or a person, layman, they are pretty much thinking all the thoughts that they are having throughout the day, they are pretty much thinking in these terms, in these boxes. They are either running or thinking about enhancing their life, enhancing their health. They are either considering their money situation, how to improve it, how to save, and things like that, or relation with money, the qualitative relation with money, or they are thinking about their relationships, either with their boss or with their peers or with their fellow students or with professor or with their partner or with their kids or with nature or with insects or with animals. So there's always a relationship going on. So invisible U-turn framework actually tells people that how about you solve your challenges of health, wealth, and relationship. Along with that, find inner peace, find inner joy, find the world beyond your desires, find the world beyond mind and emotions. That's the work we do in multiple ways, either by retreat or dialogue or one to one. That's the way we proceed.
That's incredible. And I feel like Deepak, that has much more ability to go further and impactful in someone's life versus a temporary fix, right? You're taking care of these different layers at once because that's who we are as humans. We are very layered and very complex. So if you're not approaching it as the whole, you're not really approaching anything, is what you're saying, right?
Exactly. Yes. You put it very right. It's a holistic. So I call myself holistic well-being coach. So the reason holistic is there that, we can't put our life in compartments, in boxes, just the way government does or companies do, Department of Marketing and technology and sales and things like that. Our life, if you are touching something, it's definitely impacting all other parts of your life. Like the type of food you had or the meals that you had or how much sleep you had is affecting your decision making power, definitely. And of course, the different financial situation does affect your way of being. If you are in trouble in terms of your finance, forget about inner peace or going going within. We need to cover the basics first. So definitely one thing is impacting other, and that's the reason I now focus holistically. Now, talking about AI, actually, so many people are involved in technology, and especially in India, so many engineers are there. So, can we have AI as a use case to turn inward? We can also talk about that because I know that you focus on tech, on
That's
AI.
right. Thank you, Deepak. I'm glad that you went that direction. And for those listening, I also want to mention to those tuning in, and I didn't mention this at the very beginning, but this is a very special podcast for many reasons. One, Deepak is the first Indian to be on the podcast, which is incredible because that is our highest listenership area. And then second, it's Deepak's first English podcast, which Deepak, you're incredible speaker, and I commend you for getting out of your comfort zone and jumping on the show. So lots of firsts happening, not just for you, but for the podcast itself. In our 6 years of doing this, we've never had anyone like you on the show. So wanted to express that gratitude. But shifting a little bit into back into your realm, Deepak, you have this concept of AI as the masculine. Can we dive into that a little bit further for our audience to kind of have a feeling of what that means, AI as the masculine, once we get into that conversation?
Yeah, yeah. First of all, why we have a need to even go deeper into that, why should we see AI as masculine or feminine? Before that, the reason is that, as a human being, we come to the world and we always learn things from the world about whatever, swimming or dancing or driving or whatever is there. We always learn about the external world, but we don't learn the way life works. No university, no parents, nobody is telling us that how this vehicle that you are into, how does that vehicle run? How does life function? So the human nature, it's kind of a mystery for most of the world. And in West, it's actually even more bigger mystery compared to the East. So to me, whoever comes, I tell them like, you are welcome to be interested in any topic. You can come from any region, any country. It's my job to make you experience that invisible U-turn. So, of course, there are many, many people. And in last 2 years, we have seen there is a massive surge of the interest in AI. Even those who are not related to AI, they are also, considering that, what is this world? By the way, each one of us right now is related to AI one way or the other. Even if you don't use AI, the people around you and the world around you is using AI. So that's why you are also impacted by AI. So how can you learn about yourself, about a human nature from AI? So that's why I started mentioning to people that AI is the masculine of technology, and it's also learning the feminine side of technology as well. So what do I mean by that? If we see the masculine traits, if we see the masculine qualities, those are actually being efficient, being highly centralized, being logical, being effective. These are some of the very typical masculine qualities. Now, if you look at AI, that's what it has done. We started our journey on internet by putting our brain, our ideas, our research on internet. And then somehow many websites came which were connecting to each one of us, depending on the information that we are demanding, either by research or blog post or videos or things like that. We started connecting. Now try to see each and every piece that is there on internet as one neuron, the way we have in our brain. And then suddenly AI comes and then literally became super efficient, even started learning from the data that we have posted before. So we are becoming more and more efficient, effective, centralized by AI. Now, if you see the traits of AI, if you see the qualities of AI, they are literally matching with the masculine side of human nature. So in that way, you will learn a lot about your masculine side. Now, of course, a human being is made with masculine as well as feminine side. In general, women are born with more feminine side and men are born with more masculine side. And then afterwards, as they move in their life journey, it depends on them which one they want to bring it upward or suppress it, or they are living a whole life of masculine and feminine, or they are suppressing one side, that they are going to learn. Now, once you learn that, you are able to live both of them and then you can go beyond. That's the purpose. Now, let's see some of the feminine side. Some of the feminine side are being emotional, being inclusive, being decentralized, being caring. These are some of the feminine side. If you see the crypto world, the blockchain world, that is actually more aligned to the feminine side, like, being decentralized, being inclusive. However, the way AI is progressing, in terms of AI, if I have to mention, the narrow AI, the agentic AI is actually very much aligned to masculine side, very much aligned to like centralized, one function, focused, logical. But if you see generic AI, which can also sense emotions like fear and love and care. And that's why there are many humanoid robots that are coming in the relationship space as well. Because we don't want just a robot to do household chores, household things. We want a robot I don't mean I want it. That's what society is portraying. It's like if they need a robot in their house, then that robot should also have emotions. So now, that advancement is happening in a way that the emotions are also learned by AI. So that's why the robot is covering both the masculine side as well as feminine side. And by this example, you can learn about your nature as well.
Wow, Deepak, that is deep. And I'm glad that you explained that because the first time that you told me that when I was in India in January, I had to really marinate on it for a little bit to understand it because it is a more advanced concept for people to really sink their teeth into. But I like this quote right here that you sent me. AI started as masculine of technology, and by unpacking the masculine and feminine as universal human energies instead of gender labels, and revealing why AI mirrors the masculine archetype almost perfectly, you're able to learn more about logic, structure, dominance, and drive. So, slowly going in the feminine traits as well. And I hope that resonates with people listening that it's more than just a surface level conversation. This is more about a conversation of transcending time and about our identities as humans as we start to blend human and robot together, which is an interesting concept, but I think you do it beautifully, Deepak. I'm curious, do you have conversations with people across the world via like Zoom, if you can't physically go to them, about these topics to help them uncover more of who they are at their core identity? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, that's exactly what I focus on, but I make sure that it's invisible for people because, the moment you go into this world, they think it's boring. You have to close eyes and sit for hours, but that's not the case. That's not how I tend to function for them because I know it's overwhelming. It's a situation like imagine someone is already drowning in water and then you are out there shouting, "Hey, can you dance?" You're out there and asking, "Can you dance?" Like it doesn't make sense at all. But that's the world where we live in. Like imagine if someone is just trapped in their health, wealth, and relationship issue, and then suddenly you come in and say, "Hey, come here, sit eyes closed, and meditate." Meditate on what? On my problems. So while saying that, make sure that I am not mentioning that meditation doesn't have power, meditation doesn't have fruits or a valuable, insight for your life. All I'm saying is that you are not ready for it. If you are trapped in so much of bigger challenges and baggages in your life, you're already burdened. You can't just burden yourself with some another activity which may sound random to you and unconnected to your present challenges. So the question of who am I, or the world of going beyond masculine and feminine, or mind or emotions, is actually has to be done invisible. And that's the 21st century way that I have found that, all these things should be automated, should be inbuilt in the process. It should be in a fun way. So at least you are solving your health issues or wealth issues or relationship issues, and as a bonus, you are getting to know yourself. So that's my approach, and I like it, and people do love it and they enjoy it. It's a surplus, it's bonus, and it has a sense of surprise and fun and being playful. So that's the reason people also enjoy it.
I love that. And I think that's really important because when I was in India talking to you, you were talking to me about your experience in 2018. You were here in Oklahoma, which is where I'm located right now. And whenever you opened up your story, you mentioned that you were not in a good place. 2018 was a lot happening. And that experience really kind of had an unlock for you for seeing the world the way that you do now. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that experience and how profound it was for you for where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. It was really a transformative time for me. I was totally lost. I was not in this sector. I have recently moved to India after 8 years of my global travels and stay. I have studied in Denmark. I have lived in California as well briefly, but also in Africa, in Rwanda and Zambia, and then in Bhutan for about 2.5 years. Being one of the fortunate one to live there in such a forested country and clean and green country, serving the forestry communities. Like I was literally working with rural communities in the environment sector. That's
Wow.
what I studied also. I studied environmental management from Denmark back in 2012. So 2018 was my year of transition to move back to India. And when I moved back, I actually experienced something called reverse cultural shock.
Wow.
So
What is that?
everyone knows what is a culture shock, which is like going to a new country, dealing with the new culture and things like that. But I was coming from a very straightforward and very quiet and green countries like Denmark and Bhutan. When I came to India, it was too much of noise, too much of chaos, even for me. That gave me a lot of irritation and a lot of hidden anger. And I was the one who was motivated to solve global challenges, working on governance issues and economic issues. And I recently got to know about AI and crypto back in 2017 when I visited NASA in California. And then afterwards, suddenly, here I am dealing with my own issues of irritation by simple mundane things in life in India. Then I asked this question, like, why am I getting bothered with these simple, straight away, day to day things? And here I am trying to solve global challenges and, trying to work for people, for humanity. Like, what is the use of solving so many people's problem if I'm getting irritated with so many little nitty gritty things and experiencing this reverse culture shock? There was no acceptance in me to, be in this country. And then I started asking questions like, where is this coming from? Where's this anger coming from? Where's this irritation coming from? And that's where my invisible U-turn happened.
Wow.
And then the journey started. Then 19, what I did is like, instead of focusing on global issues, whatever I am touching in my day, whatever I am reading, whatever I am living with, I'm going to go and explore in each and every one of them. For example, food. So I started asking question, where is my food coming from? And so with that question, I got connected to the soil. I studied agriculture, and then the food forest, the concept of food forest came in, and even more deeper connection to nature. And then same I did with clothing, with the education, relation with money, with the relationships. So I picked each and every sector that I'm picking. So exactly what I tell to people, that, you just focus on solving your own problem in a more self-observation way, and don't worry about inner peace and compassion and this meditative world that will come on its own. You need to prepare by getting rid of the dirt or the conditioning that you have gathered with so many years. So that's what I started doing. And actually, my first meditative experience has went in a reverse direction. I actually experienced more anger after my 10 days of silence and meditative experience.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, technically, what was happening is that the peels of orange of onion, sorry, the peels of onion were keep on getting peeled, and then suddenly what was hidden beneath came up. So
Okay.
there
Surfaced.
was there was certain, yeah, anger and irritation that came out, and I didn't realize at that time. So that's why I went, sector by sector, and whatever I am touching, because what is the point if I'm going deeper, but at the same time I'm complicated or unaware of the things that I'm doing in my whole day. So so sector by sector, I went deeper and deeper and observed myself, like, how am I in, for example, relation with food, relation with money, things like that. And then slowly, slowly, I went more and more. I got to know more and more about the human nature with this experience. And then 2020 was another big major shift during the lockdown time, where I did experience such an immense, deeply of myself. I got curious about death. So I explored the sector of death. I started living as if I am dead. And that took me even more deeper. And then in 2021, retreat started.
Wow. Tell me more about acting like you're dead because I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. I think I may have heard a little bit about this in India, but please expand on it.
Well, first of all, nobody needs to do like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if it is going to happen in your life, it's going to come naturally.
Okay.
And that's what had happened in my life also. So what happened in April 2020, the news was all about death,
Yeah.
if you remember,
Yeah.
all over.
6 years ago, like this week, actually, was like the anniversary of COVID happening.
Exactly.
Wow.
Are you celebrating?
No, 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 not celebrating. No, I'm glad to be out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was first time ever that so many of us have felt lack of freedom. Like,
Yeah.
we are trapped. We are trapped. And that was a big blow to my ego, I would say, that, I am trapped. Like, a virus has that power that can trap a free being. And then When I read the news or when I try to dig into it, that what is happening, I always see it's death, death everywhere, and not just couple of deaths, like it's mass death. The videos of so many dead bodies buried together and things like that. So that made me curious towards death, and surprisingly, my friend has gifted me literally a book with the title Death
Wow.
3 months ago. So it was a
Oh my
perfect
gosh.
timing. Yeah, it was a
Very
perfect
perfect.
timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's 3 months ago in January 2020. So I started reading about death. I started going deeper into it. I went curious about it. Like, I want to experience death. What happens in it? Because why it happened is because the fear of death was at such a peak with this experience of lockdown and this virus and things like that. So I wanted myself to be really deep dive into it. So because of that, I started living near to the river and being mostly alone and in silence. And then I got this sense that, I should just pretend that I am dead and I am just moving just for the sake of moving, just doing basic functions. So when I started pretending, slowly, slowly, the thoughts started disappearing
Really?
because, of course, why would a dead body would think?
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
It's a
Good
common
point.
sense that that there won't be any desires for a dead body. It's our mundane life that I want this, I want to travel here, I want to collect this much of money and all this rat race, and I want to do this, I have to study this, I have to do that. All this is our human mind. But then as you go deeper into even pretending, that pretending becomes real, like in entrepreneurship, fake it until you make it.
Yep. Yep. It's true.
So in my case, it was a death entrepreneurship. Like, it was so much of pretending of death that suddenly the thoughts started disappearing. And then somehow there was a world beyond thoughts for the first time ever in my life.
Wow.
And that was not just beyond thoughts, but there is something more powerful than thoughts, which is emotions. That's the reason many times you might think something that I should do this, but ultimately you end up doing something else. You might have many situations like that in your life as well. That is because there is an even more powerful force inside us, which is beyond thoughts, which is emotions. So emotions is literally like a tsunami. And that's why, the anger burst happens. Suddenly someone is angry and that suddenly anger burst happens. And then afterwards you're regretting, like, I should not have been that angry and things like that. Then the mind is coming back again. But emotions has played its role. Emotions started, the calm water, the tsunami started becoming the calm water, and the thoughts are like arrows. So if I have to explain the mind and the emotion, the thoughts are like arrows, like very sharp, laser focused, and the emotions are like literally big waves, like tsunami. So if you throw an arrow towards a big tsunami, the power will diminish of that arrow. Yeah. So that's how it functions. So when both become calm, then you experience the world of beyond thoughts and emotions, the pure bliss, the calmness. And once you have experienced that, then it gives the experience of oneness, like you and me are connected, the animals, the trees are connected. And once you have that experience, you can't function in isolation. You can't function in ignorance that I am different than you or I am separate than you. Then all the differences start melting, all the boundaries start melting. And that oneness is the experience that changes your life, the way you function in life. And you can see that happening in technology also, like in AI. Like AI is powerful because there is this oneness of all the human knowledge that came together. And because of that, this super consciousness or super computer intelligence is born out of it.
That's interesting. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Deepak, because I think about death often as well. And you're 100% right. Western culture has a very different relationship with death than Eastern culture does. And it's to our detriment, unfortunately, because we fear what we don't know. So I understand where you were coming from with like your exposure therapy of getting as close to it as possible to lessen your fear of it and kind of have a more diffused way of removing that fear. That's incredible that you mentioned that. Thank you. And I think that's something that hopefully those listening can be comfortable with of learning more about death. It's not always like a bad thing. Yes, it's sad. It's a cycle of life, but there's so much more to learn from that than the surface level of some that we think about in Western cultures.
Yeah, I can shed more light. Like, let's say if someone has this question that how can I practice death in their lifestyle without doing the crazy things that came up in my life? So first of all, the first thing is that start changing your perspective towards that, like you have also shared. If you see closely, death is literally a transformation. It's a change from A to B. So usually the mindset, the thinking is that, that happens once in our lifetime, when we just stop moving. But that's not the case. Literally, death is happening every single second in your life, in your body. So in your body, the cells are dying. So many of cells are dying, and so many of them are getting newly born. Your thoughts, your old thoughts are dying, and new ones are coming on. Same is for your emotions. Same is for the way your body mood is. Your body type is changing. Same is your financial situation. Everything is in flux, is in change. So it's literally changing from A to B. So it's literally a transformation. So if you start seeing death as transformation, like change from one to another, then you at least you ease, because you had that experience of transformation in your life, bigger and smaller, there was a transformation. So first thing is changing your perspective towards death. Now, secondly, how to practice that? You can practice by picking up one particular sector. For example, let's say with your clothes. So certainly everyone has clothes that they are never going to wear and they are never going to use. So let's say goodbye to those clothes with joy
Yeah.
and watching your attachment towards it, So bye bye to the clothes. So that's a death of old clothes.
Yeah.
And same you can do with the people in your life who drain you, or who where in their company you experience a drain of your energy. So bye bye drainage of energy. So that's a death of drainage of energy. So there are many simple ways by which you can practice that. Now coming back to AI, because of AI there would be massive transformation. We are literally living in a time that was never happened before. The pace of change has never in our life happened this much before. Like the nearest I can recall is 250 years ago, when we were moving from agricultural based system to industrial based system. Jobs, more and more jobs. It started in 200, 250 years ago. But you need to build infrastructure for industries. So it was slow. It was still slow. Here, it's a fraction of seconds, things are changing. So because of this massive change, a lot of death you are going to experience in your life. Death of your job, death of your maybe finances, death of
Friendships.
your old relationships, exactly. Maybe death of your locations, countries, or the way you live, way of life. One way or the other, you accept it or do not accept it. It's coming in your life.
Yeah.
So if it is coming, why not accept it and move on? So this is the best way to practice that. Like, okay, let's embrace what AI is going to bring. See, one thing is sure, that you are in a relationship with AI. It's your choice whether you are going to make it a smooth, calm, happy, acceptable relationship, or agony, irritating, anger relationship, if you don't prepare for it, if you are unconscious
True.
for it.
That's beautiful, Deepak. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope that resonates with people that are listening right now, especially in this strange world that we live in where there's conflict, there's death, there's strife, there's always something going on. And it feels like one battle after another, right? That we're being thrown. So I think that what you mentioned here is a good way to exercise your own free will and autonomy on how you think about things in your relationship with things, because we do have the power to have that fortitude internally that can be very helpful. But it is a grieving process, like you mentioned. The death of things you don't need, the death of your old clothes, death of a physical structure, the death of a job, the death of friendships, relationships. It's going to happen throughout our life, and we have to have a better relationship with those things that happen because, like you mentioned, they're going to happen whether or not we want to deal with it or not. It's up to us how we approach it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm curious. I'm really enjoying this conversation of mixing death and AI.
Me too. Me.
It's coming so much spontaneously and on the spot. So I'm really enjoying. So I'm curious because I have a relationship with Oklahoma since 2018, and I love that. I adore that state. What were you doing in 2018 in Oklahoma? And I'm sure you have experienced death in many ways between
Yeah.
2018 until now. So share your journey in terms of AI, death, and the transformation since 2018.
Thank you for asking that, Deepak. So, in fall of 2018, I was working at the University of Oklahoma as an emerging technologies librarian. I was 28, and when you're 28, you feel like you know everything. You really don't. And
Yes.
someone that I talked to recently, I can't remember if it was a year ago, they said death changes your reality. And I couldn't agree more with that aspect. And part of me is that I've dealt with death very young, and very young. I watched my father pass away. I spoke at his funeral. That was the first time I ever spoke in public, which looking back on it now, I'm really glad that I did, because I would have regretted it had I not done that. But then I experienced more death after that, from my grandmother, and then death of a mentor. And I started to realize, like, oh my gosh, these are things that are going to happen to us. We can't escape it. It's here, and experiencing that depth of sorrow and grief and despair makes you realize that, like, what's possible. Like, you can only go up from here, is what I say, because once you experience heartbreak and sorrow, there's like no other way to live, because you don't want to go back to that place anymore. So it's much better to have a feeling of gratitude and a feeling of curiosity and exploration versus fear. Because if you live with fear your entire life, what are you doing? That's not productive, and that's not good for anyone healthy as well. So to me, death changed my reality. It made me more conscious about how I spend my time, the people I spend time with, the work that I do, the clients that I engage with, the locations that I travel to, like India. Like, it gave me a huge perspective to want to see more of the world, because so many people here in Oklahoma will make it their entire life and never see anything outside of the state, which is
Mm.
deeply sad to me, because there's so much more than what meets the eye, especially, seeing a beautiful country like India and Sri Lanka. I just want that for everyone to experience the world outside of their comfort zone. So, yeah, 2018, has happened. I've been more mature. I got married. I gave it two TED Talks. It made me more intentional with accelerating my way towards destiny, and whatever that is for me. Like, I don't know what that is. That's up to the universe. But I'm doing my due diligence to play an active role in my life instead of waiting on the sidelines, waiting for things to happen. And I think that kind of started in 2018, of realizing that we can exercise our own destiny, and being in the technology space as well. We all know technology is constantly going to change, and AI was just starting to get warm around 2018. And then, it's exploded since then. But I've been really grateful to be in the technology industry, because it keeps me on my toes. I'm never bored. And I'm sure you're never bored either, Deepak. You're constantly dipping your toes into different areas of life. But that's the beauty of it, is we can do that. And to people listening, I hope they realize that there are careers that don't exist yet, that they can create themselves, just like you have created a career for yourself based on your life experiences, which I love that so much. And so thank you, Deepak, for sharing your journey for others to know that there's no playbook for this. It's about sharing and being curious, like you mentioned with the child walking towards the fire. That's the beauty of life, is we're all students of life, so we must remain curious.
Wow, such a transformative journey.
I'm 30, I'm 36 now, so almost 10 years. We're coming on 10 years in 2018, or 2028 will be 10 years since 2018. So usually every 10 years, I try to take stock. What happened in that 10 years? What
Mhm.
can I learn from it? What can I do differently in that next 10 years? And the cycle repeats itself.
Wonderful. And what I really appreciate while I was listening to you in India is that you left your job, and it has been really a transformative shift in terms of the way you see the life, but also most importantly that you became confident to start your own brand. So kind of finding your own uniqueness, which is really crucial in today's world. Like, you were the lucky one who chose to fire yourself.
Yes. The lucky one. That I like that approach, because, like, I mean, there's no time like the present. I mean, if you want to do something, just go ahead and do it, because my friend Banu says later means never. So if you say, I'm going to do it later, that means you're never going to do it. So might as well do it now.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is another thing that I want to highlight is that until now, you might have, until now, you were easy to survive either by doing a job or creating a bigger business. But now we are living in a time of disruption. So the future belongs to those who can embrace their uniqueness. So the future includes many small entrepreneurs, small scale businesses. Maybe a team of two, a team of 10, or a team of one,
Yeah.
which is a lot. But it is crucial that you bring your uniqueness. And why is that? Because anything that is not unique, anything that is repetitive, anything that is can be automated, you can't compete with AI on that.
No, not at all.
Not
I'm
at
not
all.
even gonna
Not at all.
try.
No, you're not gonna even try. That's true. So that means like whatever you are unique in, first of all, you have to find that. And then secondly, build a small brand, like a small personal brand in whatever way, even if you are serving your own network, your own community, but let the world know that this is what I'm good at. This is what I really enjoy doing. This is the best way to transition wherever you are, even if you have a multi-million dollar business that might be disrupted because of the AI. You need to find your uniqueness. And that, now coming back to connecting to masculine and feminine, because when you are embracing your masculine and feminine side, you will embrace your uniqueness. Just like in nature, every leaf is different, every fruit taste is different, even if they are adjacent to each other. Every human being is also different. So, another chance to find your uniqueness and present it to the world.
And be confident about it. It's good to be unique and different in this world. And especially in Western culture, I think it's celebrated to be cookie cutter, to follow a certain path and do a certain thing and dress a certain way and like do this job, blah, blah,
Mm.
blah. And like that's boring. Right? There's no joy in that. There's no mystique. There's no inner invisible U-turn. So I challenge those listening to either pinpoint where their invisible U-turn happened if they have been through a transformative experience, or be conscious and pay attention to when the opportunity arises for an invisible U-turn to happen. What would you think about
Mhm.
that, Deepak? Would you share that with
Yeah.
the Okay.
Yeah, so I run an organization called Kosha, and the mission of Kosha is to create ambience for abundant life. And like you mentioned, point out where the U-turn happened, or at least create the scenario where it could happen. So, what does it mean? Creating a scenario is creating that ambience, and that's the only thing that is there in your hand. So, try to see it as a garden where in your hand it's just there to take care of the water, the shade, the protected boundary, and the nutrients of the soil. But it's not in your hand to order the flower to come out and flourish well and smell well or look better. That's not in your hand. That's the outcome of creating that ambience. So definitely making those scenarios where potential U-turn could happen and identifying the U-turns that has happened and being in gratitude and acceptance in your life about those U-turns. That is a wonderful way to live.
Like that. And I'll be sure to link, some of the things that we've discussed on this show in the show notes. That way, if those that are listening want to reach out to you and have Kosha be a conduit for that experience, then they know who to reach out to, because this is something that you've been practicing for so long. And the beauty of technology is that there are no boundaries. So no matter where you are in the world, you can connect with those that are listening, which is a
Mhm.
beautiful way to kind of transcend the conversation into practice.
Yeah, one more thing that I want to highlight is, so I do three main activities. So one is simplifying people life, which includes invisible U-turn, like you don't realize it, getting rid of your challenges in health, wealth, and relationships, particularly holistic well-being. Second is connecting people with nature, and third is raising feminine energy. So this is very crucial, and I want to highlight it also because of your journey. So when I was listening to you, I have seen in your journey also that you have also uh, made sure that your feminine traits come up and flourish as well. Before that, in your job life was mainly the what society has given to you, and the masculine traits were more dominating. So This, in my opinion, is the most crucial that is required in this world, is to raise feminine energy, be it man or woman. It is required because it's been suppressed. And what I mean by feminine energy is, again, beauty, love, care, being inclusive, being celebrative, appreciating each other, like appreciating your friend's art or your own art and creativity, spending time in nature, being inclusive, loving plants and animals. So all these traits, you can only do it when you have certain space, certain free time. You can't do it in a hustler lifestyle. So that's the reason you need a lifestyle of a calm hustler.
That's a good way to come full circle of our beginning conversation and where we are now, Deepak. I feel like we could have this conversation for hours. And I do want to maybe take an opportunity in the future, maybe 6 months from now, have another conversation to see what has changed in the, time since we last talked. But I appreciate you for the work that you do, the resources that you create for people, the clarity that you bring to thought. But most importantly is a question that you asked me when I was in India. It made me really think. And because of that, I started asking the same question to other people. And the question that you asked me was, what is your goal in life, Ashley? And I was like, wow, it's too early for this. But Deepak, what is your goal in life as we wrap up this conversation?
To share the abundance that I have got. I'm literally living a wonderful, abundant life. And the best that I can do is to create that ambience of abundance, whoever comes in my way. So that's the only thing that matters to me in whatever way. It doesn't matter you are interested in technology and whatever. I just want to share the abundance.
Thank you, Deepak. I think that's important. And a reminder to everyone listening is that even if you are in a scarcity scenario, you can think in an abundant mindset. And I'm not saying that's going to fix all your problems, but that can be a much healthier place to live than being stuck in a scarcity mindset. So, Deepak, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really powerful and really impactful for everyone to hear.
Thanks a lot. And I do want to highlight one example, one thing that has happened when you were in India. So I enjoyed hosting you in India. And I remember one incident when I asked you that, it was a hot afternoon. And I asked you, like, would you like to take a tuk-tuk or walk? And you were all into walking in that hot sun because you wanted to see the streets and India. So I appreciated that you jumped outside comfort zone. And this is what I wish for the listeners. I know that, we went more deeper than people usually tend to listen on technology podcasts, at least. So take this opportunity to step outside your comfort zone the way you have done it in hot afternoon in India by walking. So that's a message to the listeners, like whatever they can take and go deeper in life.
I love that. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for the beautiful experience in India and for hosting and sharing more of your knowledge, not just with me, but with the group. And thank you for continuously bearing that torch to try to be a space of light in this dark world that we live in. I think it's more important now than ever to be that light for others. But for those listening that want to reach out to you or learn more about your work, where can they go to find you or reach out to you, Deepak?
I'm directly reachable on my phone number. I can give that to you. And the website is kosha.network. So it's literally a network. So KOSHA dot network. And yeah, that's where you can see the past work and reach out as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be sure to link that in the show notes. That way, those that are listening can reach out to you and maybe book a session or have an enlightening discussion. But Deepak, I know it's late for you. So I want to say thank you for your time and thank you for your wisdom. I'm so excited for the community to listen to this episode, but I'm more excited to see what your journey brings and what the next thing will be for you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Coffee and Code. Your support means everything, so be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for more insights, updates, and behind the scenes content. Stay curious, stay informed. Until next time, stay hydrated and do something nice for someone.